Chapter 58. Cornelius and Jarrah's Wisdom. But Cornelius was immensely amazed about the wisdom of the girl. Also Faustus and Philippold wondered to the same degree. And Cornelius asked me whether he was allowed to discuss some things with the girl at the table. And I allowed him this. And Cornelius is as joyful about this as the girl and everyone at the table. And I recommend him to ask wise questions. However, Cornelius, as soon as he should ask a question to the girl, begins to wonder very much what he should actually ask. For by my command to only ask the girl wise questions, Cornelius understood that the conversation should not be pointless chit-chat, but something purposeful. And he thought a lot what this could be in a company who always had the opportunity to hear the highest things. The longer and stronger he thought about this, the less he found something which seemed to him to be worthy to ask the girl and enter into a mutual discussion with her. He thought of this and that, and found nothing which could seem to have any particular value. After quite a while of thinking, Cornelius, said to me, "Look, I thought that this would be easier, but the longer and deeper I think, the less I find anything which would be suitable for such a wise child. I say, well, if you find nothing extraordinary, then ask the girl the next best thing." Cornelius says, "That would be all very correct and good, but there's also a problem with that. For I cannot ask her about something too every day, and I would hardly know something better that has not already been discussed here many times." But the girl, noticing Cornelius's embarrassment, said, "Oh, hi, dearest friend. If you cannot find a question for me, then allow me to ask you. For I am not easily embarrassed in asking questions. I already have 10 questions at the ready." Cornelius says, "That would certainly be very good, my very dearest little child. But if you ask me a question, then it is already a foregone conclusion that I must answer it. If I were not capable of this, which could very easily be the case, since you seem to me a very thoroughly clever child, what then?" The girl says, "Well, what then? Then I will answer my own question, and you can judge the question and the answer, and then can tell me whether I have been mistaken. Oh, look, it is also by no means a little thing for me to ask and answer. The Lord, as my eternal only love, worries me the least, because every comparison of His infinite wisdom and our most limited wisdom is in any case useless. Whether we say something more or less foolish, this does not change the relationship between us and the Lord in the least. For we are nothing in ourselves in comparison with the Lord. And that there is something in us of worth for Him, that is He Himself in our hearts through His mercy. But there are some wise men among us, and even at this table, for whom I have all respect. It is not good to reach into the same bowl with such people. I truly know some things which until this moment no one but I and of course Raphael and the Lord can know, because every experience is lacking in such an unbelievable relationship. But what use is it to me to be at home in the far-off stars, but at the same time to be a stranger on this earth that is our home? Then I am beaten 100 and 1,000 times over. Cornelius says, "Who at our table is then so first-rate, before whom you have such a particular respect in a very human way?" Jara says, "The vice-king over there, who will now rule over the whole Pontus with the old Uran. His name is Matthal. He could give me some hard tasks to solve." I believe that would not be in a position to give him a single intelligent answer to one question in 100. Matthal says, "Oh, dear little child, suddenly you are now extremely modest. Since quite a while you cannot be cornered by me, for I know all too well the keenness of your mind. If a Raphael has to summon all his strength, how much more then we? And Colonel Cornelius does very well in considering what he should speak to you about. For you are like very few of your gender. It is true that I also understand a few things, and know some things. But nevertheless, I would never like to enter into a contest of wisdom with you, which would also be a vain craziness. But it would always be very dear, valuable, and worthy to me to be taught by you." Jara says, "That's what a poor girl has, if she knows something and no one dares to speak to her. Therefore it would almost be better for her to know a little less, in order to not appear unpleasant to the wiser friends. But what can I do now? It is impossible to begin to know less than I know, for I cannot make the light of my heart weaker than it is. But this light gives me in an ever greater measure the love for the Lord, for the holiest Father of the fathers of this earth. Yes, if it were possible for me to weaken this one and only love even in the least, then I would immediately become more foolish. But such a thing is impossible for me. And what I know from this light is not mine, but the knowledge of the Lord in my heart. And therefore certainly no one should be ashamed, just as I should not shame anyone. Therefore you, noblest friend Cornelius, and you, noble Matthal, should also be able to speak to me." Cornelius says, "Certainly, certainly. But do you know, very dearest Jara, there is even a problem with that. For it is somewhat difficult to speak to you, as I am already beginning to feel very clearly, because in your heart you really understood the purest truth too much. Oh, you are otherwise infinitely blessed and dear, and one could listen to you all day long. But to ask you a question, or to have you ask a question, that is another story. You could be asked quickly, but afterwards comes the answer, and then I will look very inadequate. A little thought has not yet quite left me, and I fear nothing in the world as much as shame, which is certainly not justified. But I cannot do anything about it, for in childhood I was brought up like that, and such an old habit does not disappear as quickly as one would like to believe. But just wait a little longer. Something very clever will occur to me, and I will then take great joy in hearing something very wise from you."